Hey there, survivors. Thanks for tuning into this story. If you enjoy my videos and want to see more, show the channel some support and let me know in the comments what I could improve or add next time. Now let's get started.
I am flat on my back beneath the rear axle of a prison laundry truck, with rainwater from an old puddle soaking through one shoulder of my jacket. I can see his boots beside the rear tire. Beyond them, through the open inner gate of the vehicle sally port, there are infected, pressed against chain link fencing 50 yards away. Most barely move until somebody raises a voice. Then heads turn. A dozen bodies shift toward us. More follow behind them. The fence starts rattling. I slide the cardboard box toward the guard before I move. There are 3 belts in there. I was checking the underside because your driver said the truck was leaking something. It is transmission fluid, and I am not fixing that in the road. The guard steps back enough for me to crawl out. His name is Wade Heller. I learned that during our first trade 6 days ago. He is somewhere in his 30s, with a hunting rifle, a rain jacket that does not fit him, and the tired expression of somebody assigned work he hates. He looks at the wet patch beneath the truck, then at me. You said you worked on generators. I worked on heating and ventilation systems, motors, belts, blowers, pumps. I can tell you when something is failing. That does not mean I can rebuild every machine in Ohio. Wade accepts that without arguing. That helps me more than confidence would. The second guard stays inside the booth beside the outer gate. I do not know his name. He has watched us from behind reinforced glass since Evelyn drove the truck into the approach lane. Terrence is in the passenger seat. Alana sits between him and Evelyn, with our trade list folded against her knee. Nobody outside the prison can see what I can see from here. The yard is worse than we expected. There must be more than 100 infected between the basketball courts, the exercise cages, and the long fence dividing the yard from the vehicle corridor. I cannot count them because several groups overlap behind concrete barriers. Some still wear prison uniforms. Others are in civilian clothes. A few have corrections shirts. 10 weeks of heat, rain, dehydration, injuries, and hunger have reduced many of them to slow movement. Their clothes hang loose. Several remain seated until the fence noise starts. Then they stand. Not together, not deliberately. One moves because it sees us. Another follows the movement. Noise spreads through the group until the entire near side of the yard begins drifting toward the vehicle corridor. Wade notices me watching. Do not worry about them. They have been there since June. I am not worried while that fence is straight. He gives me a look that says he has heard enough from a trader. The chain link has already bowed several inches toward us between 2 posts. I keep that to myself. The prison looked better from the county road. 2 cell blocks, administration, a low industrial section behind them, double perimeter fencing, towers nobody uses anymore, concrete walls around the vehicle entrance, enough open ground that nobody should approach unseen. Our camp has 29 people sleeping in a feed warehouse outside town. The roof leaks. The well pump works only when we run a portable generator. 2 people sleep near the door every night because the loading bay cannot be secured from inside without dropping a steel bar across it. From the road, the prison looked permanent. Standing inside its first gate, I can already see how wrong that impression is. Wade opens the box. 3 belts, 2 bottles of antibiotics, a sealed package of wound dressings, a bag containing coffee, batteries, and soap. The medicine is what gets his attention. He checks every item while I watch the yard. The laundry truck is theirs. They use it during trades because it gives them a reason to open both gates without exposing their own pickup trucks. We load supplies into it outside. They drive it through the first gate. One of us can enter for inspection if the deal involves mechanical parts. That arrangement started because they had fuel and canned food. We had medicine and people who knew how to repair things. Neither group trusted the other enough to meet without fences. 3 days ago, they returned a bundle of dirty work clothes in exchange for clean blankets. Victor Mendez had hidden a message inside the folded hem of a laundry bag. He wrote 8 words. Control possible. Boiler side. Need one clear route. Victor. Nothing else. No map. No count of guards. No promise that the other captives would help. Alana read the note twice, and said the same thing I was thinking. 8 words were not a plan. Wade takes one of the belts and compares the number printed on it with grease-stained scrap of paper. You said this one should fit. If the number you gave us came off the belt that is on the generator now. It did. Then it should fit. Should. That is the best answer you are getting without letting me see the machine. He looks toward the booth. The other guard does not react. Wade puts the belt back. We are not doing tours. That saves me work. He almost smiles. Then something strikes the yard fence hard enough to make both of us turn. A newer infected man has reached the chain link before the others. He moves faster than most of the yard population. His prison shirt is still dark blue instead of faded gray. His skin does not have the dried appearance of the older infected around him. He grabs the fence and jerks it while staring directly at us. 3 more crowd into his back. Then 6. The post beside them flexes. Wade walks to the control box beside the inner vehicle gate. Inspection is over. That is when I notice the strip of white cloth under the laundry truck. It hangs from a slot in the bottom of the cargo body. Victor has found another way to pass something out. I step between Wade and the truck. Your rear tire is nearly bald. I know. You are going to lose it carrying weight. I said, inspection is over. I raise both hands and walk toward Evelyn. Behind me, Terrence opens the passenger door. He is watching my face instead of the guard. I glance once at the ground under the truck. Terrence sees it. He does not look again. We climb into our pickup after the outer gate closes. Nobody speaks until the prison disappears behind trees. Then Terrence says, white rag under the rear left corner. Alana twists around in her seat. I saw Marcus looking at it. I did not see the rag. Evelyn keeps driving. Could the guard have seen it? He did not look down, I say. That does not mean somebody else missed it. Terrence rubs mud from his sleeve. Victor would not hang laundry out of the truck for decoration. Alana gives him a flat look. We do not know Victor well enough to say what he would or would not do. Terrence nods. That is why she is there. We had met Victor once before the prison was taken. He came to our warehouse with 4 other survivors looking for fuel. A week later, raiders caught their group at a grain terminal. 2 people escaped. Victor did not. By the time we learned where he had been taken, he was working in the prison laundry. The message hidden in the bag was the first proof he was still alive. Evelyn turns onto a narrow township road and stops beside an abandoned machine shed. We wait 5 minutes. Nothing follows us. Terrence and I move to the back of the pickup. The laundry truck is gone, but the white strip gave us a location. Before leaving the Sallyport, Terrence had seen something folded above the truck frame where the cloth emerged. He reaches under our own rear bumper and demonstrates. Victor probably tucked paper into a seam or tied it around the cloth. We cannot get under their truck now, Alana says. No, but if he knew Marcus would look down, the cloth may have been the message. Evelyn crosses her arms. That leaves us with the same 8 words. Maybe not, I say. I show them the grease on my fingers. When I was under the laundry truck, I felt along the edge of the cloth. Something hard was sewn inside. I pulled it loose before crawling out. The paper is wrapped in thin plastic. Victor used part of a detergent label. His writing is small. 12, with guns. Maybe 4 not with Curtis. 9 workers. 2 sick not bitten. Control night 2. Laundry to kitchen North Hall. Old boiler door sealed. Side access may still open. Water low. Do not open yard. Below that, he has drawn 3 rectangles and 1 line. It is not a prison map. It is enough to make Terrence stop talking. Evelyn reads the message. Then she folds it once. 9 workers. Victor could be counting himself, Alana says. He probably is. Probably is not a number. Evelyn hands her the paper. Then our first job is to confirm what we can without getting 9 people punished for sending us a note. Terrence looks toward the prison even though we cannot see it. I know where the old boiler connection is. Alana answers immediately. You knew where it was years ago. I know where the building was. That's different. Terrence does not argue. Terrence does not argue. He served 4 years in that prison before the outbreak. He does not discuss why, unless somebody needs to know. I know because he told Evelyn before she let him join our camp. After his release, he worked concrete and framing around Columbus. The prison expanded while he was inside. Parts changed after he left. That is why he refuses to call his memory a map. Most of the time. Evelyn makes the decision before we leave the machine shed. We do not attack a prison because we want a prison. We find out whether we can get those people out. If taking control becomes the safest way to do that, we consider it. If anybody turns this into revenge against Curtis and his people, I pull our group out. Terrence looks at her. You think that is what I want? I think you spent years inside that fence. I do not know what you want until you tell me. Terrence takes a few seconds. I want Victor out. I want the others out. I do not care who sleeps in the warden's office afterward. Evelyn nods once. Good. We return to camp before dark. Alana puts the prison note beside our inventory sheets. She does not let anybody start planning until she reads the numbers aloud. 29 people in our camp. 14 capable of sustained physical work. 9 firearms that function reliably. Less ammunition than anybody wants to discuss. 1 pickup we trust. 1 pickup we do not. The portal generator has enough fuel for several days if we ration it. The prison may contain food, medical supplies, beds, fencing, tools, and water storage. It may also contain more armed people than Victor counted. Nobody knows how many keys Curtis controls. Nobody knows whether central control still operates every door. Nobody knows whether Victor's side access is open. The people who want the prison become quieter after that. Evelyn points at the note. If we go in, every person trapped inside becomes our problem. The water becomes our problem. The dead in that yard become our problem. Fuel becomes our problem. If toilets stop working with 40 people inside, that becomes our problem before food does. Nobody answers. She looks at me. Can you tell us anything useful about the boiler side? After I see it. Then see it. We leave before sunrise the next morning. Only 4 of us go. Evelyn drives. Terrence directs us down farm roads until the prison appears through trees to the south. We stop at an abandoned church 2 miles away and continue on foot. The air is humid enough that my shirt sticks to my back within 20 minutes. We stay off the road and follow an overgrown drainage line along the western edge of state property. Terrence remembers an old maintenance building near the boiler plant. He says outside contractors once used it to reach utility equipment without entering secure areas. He also warns us the prison added a new warehouse and loading dock after his release. The annex is still there. Half of it is hidden behind brush. The roof has lost several panels. A faded state property sign hangs from one screw. We watch it for 15 minutes before approaching. No movement, no vehicles, no voices. The prison sits less than 300 yards away through trees and fencing. From here, we can hear the yard before we see it. Metal rattles every few minutes, then stops. The annex door has been forced before. Not recently. Terrence pushes it open with a piece of wood wrapped in cloth to keep the hinges quiet. Inside, the building contains old electrical cabinets, valves, broken shelving, and a dry concrete channel running beneath removable floor plates. Most equipment has been disconnected. The remaining labels are sun-faded. I find an old ventilation drawing behind a cabinet. Water damage has erased one corner. The part we need survives. A service line runs east toward the prison boiler room. Terrence points at it. That is it. Alana reads the handwritten revision date. That drawing is older than me. Terrence lowers his hand. We pull 2 steel floor plates. The channel beneath them is shoulder wide and about 4 feet deep. Old insulated pipes run along one wall. One has been cut and capped. The channel continues beneath the annex foundation through a concrete opening. Terrence kneels. That used to go under the fence line. You crawled through it? No, maintenance did. Inmates knew it existed because people talked. Alana shines her light down the channel. People also talk about tunnels that never existed. Terrence looks at her. This one is under your feet. The next 100 yards are not. I climb down. The channel becomes a utility passage after the first 20 feet. I can stand bent forward. The air is stale but breathable. There are rusted brackets on the walls and old marks where piping has been removed. We move slowly. Nobody has used this route in a long time. That is good until we reach the first bend. Then it becomes bad. Fresh concrete fills the passage from floor to ceiling. Terrence stares at the wall. They sealed it. I run my light over the edges. The concrete is newer than the tunnel. A piece of plastic conduit disappears into the top corner. There is no door, no hatch, no gap large enough for a hand. Alana looks at Terrence. You remembered the route. I did. It does not exist anymore. I can see that. Evelyn moves between them before the argument starts. Can we learn why? I point at the conduit and newer pipe hangers. Renovation. They abandoned the old utility run and filled the secure side. Whoever did it did not want a direct route under the perimeter. Terrence leans against the wall. So, Victor's old boiler door is sealed too. Maybe. That was our way in. It was the way you expected. We backtrack. Near the annex, I notice a smaller access cover, partly hidden by insulation scraps. It opens into a vertical valve chamber. The ladder is intact. At the bottom, 2 old water lines run east through sleeves in the wall. One has been removed. The empty sleeve is too small for a person. Above it is a rectangular opening, blocked by bolted steel mesh. Behind the mesh, I can see another maintenance space. Terrence kneels beside me. Where does that go? I do not know. Alana raises the drawing. It is not on this sheet. That does not make it useful, Evelyn says. I study the fasteners. They are rusted but accessible from our side. The space beyond is larger than the tunnel we found. I can see newer cable trays. That means somebody still uses it. We do not open it. Opening an unknown secure space barrier during reconnaissance would tell whoever maintains the prison that somebody came through. Instead, I take measurements. The opening is wide enough for a person after the mesh is removed. The passage beyond appears to turn right after several yards. There is faint air movement. That tells me it connects to something with ventilation or an open room. It does not tell me where. We replace the cover and leave. On the way back, Terrence is quiet. At the church, he finally says, "There used to be a segregation wing on that side." Alana looks up from her notebook. "You said boiler room. The old boiler route passed near segregation. You knew that before we went down there. I knew where it used to run." Evelyn closes the truck door. "Why did you not mention the segregation wing?" Terrence looks toward the floor. "Because I am not going back into it unless it gets somebody out." No one pushes him. That answer is enough. The next trade takes place 2 days later. The raiders request more medicine and a fuel filter. We do not have the exact filter, which gives me a reason to ask for the old one. Curtis Beck comes out this time. I recognize him from descriptions before anybody says his name. He is in his 40s, clean-shaven, wearing a corrections jacket with the patches cut off. He carries a pistol but keeps it holstered. 3 armed men stay behind him. Wade is one of them. Curtis does not threaten us. That makes him more difficult to read. He talks about prices. He asks how many antibiotics we have left. Evelyn lies and says almost none. He lies and says water is not a problem inside. Victor's note already told us it is. Nobody calls anybody a liar. I ask about the generator filter. Curtis sends Wade to retrieve it. While we wait, I study the loading dock. 3 captives are moving sacks from the warehouse into the kitchen corridor. One is Victor. He does not look at us. A woman behind him favors one leg. An older man pushes a cart with both hands and keeps stopping. 2 armed guards supervise them. That gives us 6 visible raiders counting Curtis. It tells us nothing about the rest. Victor reaches the corridor door. He lets the cart drift left. The wheel strikes the frame. He corrects it. Then he does it again. Left, right, left. 3 deliberate impacts. Terrence hears it. So does Alana. Curtis does not react. Wade returns with the filter. He also carries a cracked plastic fan shroud. Generator is getting hot. I inspect the filter. It is dirty enough that I can barely see the pleats. That is not helping. Wade points at the shroud. This broke yesterday. Curtis watches me. Can you fix it? Not here. I might be able to patch the shroud, but overheating could be 10 different things. Your belts fit. Then replace the worst one before it breaks. Curtis studies me for a moment. We have people who can turn wrenches. Then do not need me. I did not say that. That is the opening Evelyn wanted, not entry. A reason for them to want us back. Curtis asks what I would need to inspect the generator without crossing secure areas. I tell him tools, light, and 10 minutes beside the machine. He tells me I might get 5. I say 5 minutes can tell him whether he has an obvious problem. We agree on another trade the following afternoon. Back at camp, Lana draws 3 marks beside Victor's name. Those cart hits were intentional. Or he has a bad wheel, Terrence says. You saw him correct it between impacts. I did, so we treat it as a signal, not proof of what it means. Evelyn looks at Victor's note. Control night 2. I point at the calendar. If he meant the second night after the note, we already missed it. Terrence shakes his head. Could mean 2 guards in control at night. Could mean central control is staffed by 2. Alana writes both possibilities. We do not build a takeover around either interpretation. The weather radio at camp still works when atmospheric conditions cooperate. A storm front is expected the following night. That would normally be irrelevant. Then I look at the generator filter again. The prison is running pumps, kitchen refrigeration, lighting, security controls, and at least part of its ventilation from 1 emergency diesel unit. They have reduced electrical loads, but they are also using equipment that was never meant to run continuously for 10 weeks with improvised maintenance. Heavy rain can increase drainage pumping. If sewage or stormwater lift pumps cycle more often, the generator sees more load. If the cooling system is already marginal, the storm does not save us. It gives the machine more work. I explain that to Evelyn without pretending I know when it will fail. It could run another month. It could shut down tomorrow. The filter is bad. The shroud is broken. They may have other problems I cannot see. Alana asks, can you cause the fault? No. Can you predict the exact minute? No. Then it is pressure, not a trigger. Yes. She writes that down. Terrence watches her. You write down everything people cannot guarantee. That keeps us from pretending guesses became facts overnight. The inspection gets me farther inside than expected. Curtis does not allow Evelyn through the outer gate. He takes me and Terrence instead. Terrence is introduced as my helper. Curtis has no reason to know he once lived in the prison. At least we hope he does not. We enter through the vehicle sally port and follow a service corridor toward the boiler room. The smell changes before we reach it. Diesel exhaust, hot metal, cleaning chemicals, and sewage. Not strong yet. Strong enough that I notice. The generator sits in a room beside the old boiler plant. It is larger than anything at our camp, but familiar in the ways that count. Diesel engine, cooling system, belts, radiator, exhaust, a bank of electrical cabinets I do not touch. One panel displays readings I can understand. The load changes every few seconds, higher than I expected. I inspect the belt they replaced. Correct size, poor tension. The radiator fins are clogged with dust and oily debris. The broken shroud allows air to bypass part of the radiator. There is dried coolant along one hose connection. I show Wade. You are losing coolant here, maybe slowly. The radiator needs cleaning. The belt needs tension. If you keep running hot, it will shut down or damage itself. Curtis stands behind me. How long? I cannot give you a time. An hour? Could be. A week? Could be. He does not appreciate that answer. I point at the temperature reading. It is already above where I would want it. Terrence is supposed to hold my tool bag. Instead, he watches doors. Nobody seems to notice. The boiler room has 2 exits. One leads back toward the service corridor. The other is a steel door with old paint beneath newer gray. The frame has been rebuilt. Terrence looks at the lower hinge, then at me. That is the old connection Victor described. The door is not merely locked. Concrete block fills the space beyond its narrow inspection opening. I keep working. A captive enters carrying 2 buckets. Victor. Wade tells him to set them near the sink. Victor does. He glances at Terrence for less than a second. Then he turns toward me. The laundry drain is backing up again. Curtis answers before I can. You were told not to run both machines. We only ran one. Then stop using it until tonight. Victor nods. 1 sentence. 1 usable fact. Sewage trouble is already moving through the building. Before Victor leaves, he sets 1 bucket down beside a floor drain. His fingers tap the handle 3 times. Pause. Twice. Terrence watches without moving. 3 and 2. A signal with no agreed meaning. Another reminder that contact without a shared code can create more confusion than information. Curtis gives me 7 minutes. I use all of them. Before leaving, I tell him the generator should be taken offline long enough to clean the radiator and inspect the coolant leak. He laughs once. You think I am turning off the prison? You asked why it is overheating. I asked whether you can keep it running. Not without shutting it down long enough to work. Curtis looks at Wade. Find somebody else. That could be the end of our access. Then the generator changes pitch. Not dramatically. A short drop followed by recovery. The overhead lights dim. 1 red indicator appears on a cabinet. Wade looks at me. I keep my hands away from the controls. That is why I said inspect it. On our way out, a fire door closes across the service corridor. It moves under its own closer after an electromagnetic holder releases during the voltage dip. The door reaches the frame and stops an inch short. The lower edge catches on a raised strip of flooring. Wade curses and shoves it. Terrence joins him. Together they force it past the obstruction. The lock engages. I look at the scar on the floor. This has happened before. That door bothers me more than the generator. When power changes state, security doors do not all become open. Some stay locked. Some release only from control. Some mechanical doors close. Some controlled doors require keys after a fault. The prison can become harder to leave at the exact moment everybody wants out. Outside, Terrence tells us what he recognized. The corridor beyond the boiler room used to connect toward laundry and kitchen service. The renovated wall ended that path, but the smaller utility opening from the annex may reach a maintenance chase running parallel to the service corridor. He remembers workers using removable wall panels there. He does not know where it exits now. Alana compares that with Victor's message. Side access may still open. I nod. That could be what he meant. Could. Yes. She looks at Evelyn. If we open the mesh in the annex, we may get 1 person into the chase. We may also find another wall. Evelyn asks Terrence, would the chase cross the segregation wing? Maybe the edge of it. Does that stop you? Terrence looks at the table. No. If it gets us to the captives, I go. That evening, another laundry bundle arrives at our camp. Wade brings it himself with 2 armed men. He says Curtis wants the patched fan shroud by tomorrow. We did not expect another chance for a message. Alana searches the bundle after they leave. Nothing in the seams, nothing in the pockets. Then she finds 3 small knots tied into the drawstring of 1 laundry bag, followed by 2 knots close together. 3. 2. Terrence puts both hands on the table. 3 then 2. Same signal. Evelyn says, meaning? We do not know. Alana examines the bag. There is detergent residue on one side. Victor could have had seconds to do this. I think about the prison layout. 3 taps. 2 taps. A white cloth. Control night 2. We have fragments without a key. Then Alana turns the bag over. There are faint pencil marks under the folded label. North fire door fails. 3 workers laundry. 2 kitchen. Others move after dark. That changes the plan. Not because it tells us how to seize the prison, because it tells us where people will be. 3 in laundry. 2 in kitchen. The rest move after dark. If a fire door fails during the power problem, Victor already knows it. He is warning us about a trap built into the building. The storm reaches us the following afternoon. Not rain yet. Wind. Dark cloud west of town. The temperature drops. Evelyn gathers the people she intends to take. 8 from our camp. No more. The rest stay at the warehouse with food, water, and both vehicles except the pickup we use. Alana objects to 8 before Evelyn finishes naming them. If we take too many, we leave camp weak. If we take too few, we cannot move injured people. That is why it is 8, Evelyn says. No one argues after that. Our goal is still narrow. Open a route from the annex into the prison. Reach Victor. Move captives toward the vehicle sally port if possible. If central control becomes reachable without trapping people behind us, take it. If not, leave. Nobody goes to the armory unless it sits directly on the route. Nobody opens the yard. Nobody chases Curtis. We do not have an agreed radio frequency with Victor. He has no radio. Our internal signal is simple. 1 long transmission from Alana means stop and hold position. 2 short transmissions mean return to the last secure point. 3 means the outside route is compromised. Nobody uses codes for directions or targets. We learned months ago that complicated radio plans become nonsense when people are tired, and walls interfere with reception. We reach the annex before the rain. I remove the floor cover. Terrence climbs down with me. Evelyn follows. 2 others remain outside with Alana. The rest wait near the tree line where they can reinforce either group. We remove the bolts holding the old mesh. 1 snaps, another turns, the third takes both hands. When the panel finally shifts, rust falls onto the concrete. No alarm, no voice. I squeeze through first. The maintenance space beyond is larger than I expected. Cable trays run overhead. 2 water pipes follow the wall. The floor slopes toward a drain. We move east. After 20 yards, the passage rises. The air becomes warmer. I hear machinery through concrete. We are under or beside the boiler plant. Then the passage ends at a steel panel. 4 screws hold it in place. Fresh dust sits on the lower edge. Somebody has opened it within the last few months. I put my ear against the metal. Nothing. Terrence points to writing stamped into the frame. Mechanical access. No security marking. No lock. We remove 2 screws. The first rain hits the annex roof behind us. By the time the 4th screw comes out, the noise is steady enough to cover small sounds. I pull the panel inward. A narrow service closet sits beyond it. Mops. A broken fan motor. Boxes of old filters. A door. Terrence stares at the door. I know this closet. From where? Service hall behind laundry. We do not celebrate. Terrence's remembered tunnel failed. Victor's side access did not. That distinction could still be temporary. I open the door half an inch. No one in the hall. Fluorescent lights flicker overhead. To our left, the corridor bends toward boiler. To our right, a sign points toward laundry and food service. The floor is wet near a drain. The sewage smell is stronger. We retreat into the closet. Evelyn takes out Victor's note. 3 laundry, 2 kitchen. Terrence says, others move after dark. Rain beats harder on the roof outside. I listen to the ventilation. The supply fan changes pitch twice, then steadies. The generator is carrying a changing load. We wait. Waiting is not comfortable, but moving without Victor would turn our narrow route into an assault through a building we do not know. 15 minutes pass, then 20. A cart squeaks somewhere in the corridor. Voices follow. 1 guard, 2 workers, maybe more. We cannot see without opening the door farther. Victor speaks. The dryer is shut down. We are moving the sheets by hand. A guard answers. Move them to kitchen storage. Curtis wants the hall clear before dark. Victor says, the kitchen shelves are already full. If you block the north door again, nobody gets through when power drops. The guard tells him to stop worrying about doors. Victor has given us confirmation without saying anything that points to us. The cart passes. Evelyn waits until the wheels fade. Then she opens the door. We move right. The laundry room is larger than I expected. Industrial washers stand along one wall. Only one dryer appears functional. Water stains spread across the floor around a drain. A woman folding sheets sees us first. Her hands freeze. Victor turns. He does not smile. He walks over and closes the door behind us. You found it. Evelyn keeps her voice low. How many people know? About you? 4. Victor, I need numbers you have seen, not numbers people told you. He nods toward the woman. 9 captives counting me. 12 armed people when I last counted everybody. Curtis has lost 2 since then. 1 left yesterday with a truck and has not come back. I do not know if he is returning. That makes 9 or 10 armed inside. Maybe. Wade does what Curtis says, but he has been arguing with him. Russ Pike is the same. Curtis has 4 men who will stay with him no matter what. Evelyn asks about the 2 sick captives. Dehydration and stomach trouble. No bites. Ruth has a fever, but she has had it since yesterday morning and is still speaking normally. No exposure anybody saw. We do not treat that as proof. We also do not treat every fever as infection. Victor says the infirmary still has basic medicine, but Curtis restricts access. I ask about central control. 2 people during daylight, usually 1 after dark. Curtis keeps another man in administration when he is worried. Terrence glances at Alana's missing presence. 3 taps, 2 taps, not a code. Victor was trying to tell us counts through the only method he had. Evelyn lays out the route in plain language. We can get people from laundry into the maintenance chase. We can move them out through the annex. If the kitchen workers can reach here without crossing the north fire door, bring them. If not, nobody forces it. Victor shakes his head. Curtis locks the service door after evening meal. Once he does that, kitchen and laundry split. Then we move before that. You move 5 people and he knows. That is better than losing 9. Victor looks at her. He will take it out on whoever stays. That is why nobody stays, because we wanted a cleaner plan. A deep mechanical sound comes through the wall. The lights dim. This time they remain dim for several seconds. Somewhere farther down the corridor, a buzzer starts. Victor looks at me. That has been happening all day. The generator is hot. Can you fix it? Not while it is carrying the prison. The storm gives us less time instead of more. If the generator shuts down before we move the captives, automatic doors may trap them. If we move now and the raiders discover us, we have not reached control. Evelyn chooses people. Start the evacuation. Quietly. Central control comes after we have a route that does not depend on one powered door. Victor goes to the 2 laundry workers. He does not give them a speech. He tells them exactly where the service closet is, who waits beyond it, and that anyone who enters must keep moving until the annex. The woman who saw us is Ruth Calder. She is the one with the fever. She asks whether we are leaving the others. Evelyn answers her. No. We are opening the route first so nobody gets trapped behind us. Ruth accepts that. The first 3 captives enter the service closet. 1 older man has trouble crouching through the panel. Terrence helps him without speaking. Evelyn sends one of our people back with them. That leaves fewer bodies inside with us. It is still the correct trade. Victor goes for the kitchen workers. Terrence and I stay near the laundry door. I can hear rain hammering roof vents. The ventilation fan cycles down, then up, then down again. The lights flicker. A door slams somewhere in the hall. Victor returns with 1 kitchen worker, not 2. Russ stopped the other one. Why? Curtis called everybody to administration. He knows the generator is failing. Evelyn asked, Did Russ see you leave? Yes. Then we are done being invisible. A radio crackles in the hallway. Someone orders Russ to move captives away from the service side. Victor closes the laundry door. They are coming. Evelyn points toward the closet. Everybody who can move goes now. The kitchen worker disappears through the panel. Victor stays. Terrence stays. I stay. Evelyn stays. We hear boots. Then Wade's voice. Victor, open the door. Victor looks at Evelyn. She shakes her head. Not yet. Wade tries the handle. The laundry door is not electronically locked. Victor has turned the mechanical thumb latch. Wade knocks once with the side of his hand. Curtis knows workers are missing. If he comes down here, this gets worse. Victor answers through the door. They are not missing. They left. Silence. Then Wade says, "You need to open this door before somebody decides I helped you." Evelyn steps beside Victor. Ask him what Curtis is doing. Victor does. Wade waits several seconds. He is moving fuel to the inner garage. Evelyn's expression changes. Why? Wade hears the second voice. Who is in there? Evelyn answers. The people you traded with. We are taking the captives out. If you want to stop us, you can try. If you want to avoid getting trapped in this building when the generator shuts down, tell us what Curtis is doing with the fuel. Wade does not threaten us. He thinks your people are outside. They are. He wants the truck ready. For everyone? Wade gives a short laugh without humor. No. Victor looks at Evelyn. That is the split we needed, but nobody created it for us. Curtis created it by deciding who deserved a seat. Evelyn unlocks the laundry door but keeps it closed. You come in alone. Rifle stays in the hall. Wade says, I am not doing that. Then we keep talking through steel. He chooses steel. Wade tells us Curtis has ordered the main vehicle corridor cleared. That makes no sense at first. Then I understand. Curtis intends to leave through the sally port during the storm. The infected yard shares fencing with part of that corridor. If the generator fails during gate movement, the truck can become trapped between doors. He wants fuel loaded before the system gets worse. Victor asks, what about everyone else? Wade does not answer immediately. He said workers stay locked down until he knows the road is clear. Evelyn looks at Victor. That ends any remaining argument about whether evacuation can wait. The generator alarm changes. A steady tone replaces the intermittent buzzer. Then the lights go out. Not dim. Out. The emergency fixtures remain dark for nearly 2 seconds before battery units begin glowing over the doors. Somewhere in the corridor, several heavy doors release from magnetic holders and close. One hits the floor strip we saw earlier. Metal strikes metal. The door does not seat. Then a second impact follows. Somebody is pushing it from the other side. The generator comes back. Lights flicker on in sections. The laundry machines remain off. The ventilation does not restart immediately. Wade speaks through the door. The north fire door is stuck. Victor closes his eyes for half a second. The other kitchen worker is behind it. Evelyn has the choice the briefest plans never prepare for. Our route out is open. 4 captives are already beyond the wall. Victor can leave. We can retreat and claim success. 1 kitchen worker remains behind the stuck door. The other captives who moved after dark are still in separate zones. Central control is still in raider hands. Evelyn opens the laundry door. Wade stands 6 feet away with his rifle on the floor. Russ Pike is behind him. Russ still has his weapon. Evelyn points at it. If you are staying with Curtis, pick it up and go. If you are helping people out, put it down. Russ looks at Wade, then at Victor. He places the rifle beside Wade's. We step into the hall together. No speeches, no promises. Wade gives us the fastest route to the north fire door. Terrence knows part of it. The renovation has changed the rest. The failed door sits crooked in its frame. The lower edge has ridden onto the raised flooring strip. The closer keeps forcing it toward the frame, while people on the far side push back. Every shove jams the edge harder. Through the narrow gap, I see a woman in kitchen whites and 2 other captives. 3, not 1. Victor's count changed because the evening movement had already started. A man behind them is shouting that another secure door has locked. The corridor is filling with people who cannot go either direction. This is the prison doing exactly what it was built to do. Restrict movement. Keep doors closed. Force people through controlled points. During a normal fire, powered release systems and staff procedures are supposed to prevent this from becoming a trap. 10 weeks into the outbreak, half the staff are gone. Maintenance is improvised, and the man holding the keys cares more about his truck. I kneel by the fire door. The problem is mechanical. That is good. The door is heavy. That is bad. The bottom has climbed onto a metal transition strip that has lifted from the concrete. We need to unload pressure from the closer and lift the door slightly. Terrence finds a steel bar in a janitorial closet. Wade holds the door. Russ keeps watch at the corridor bend. Victor talks to the trapped people and makes them stop pushing. We work for several minutes. The generator drops again. Lights blink. The fire door shifts. Terrence gets the bar beneath the lower corner. I use a second bar against the frame. Wade pulls. The door jumps free of the strip. It swings toward us hard enough to knock Terrence sideways. His shoulder hits the wall. He stays on his feet but loses the bar. The trapped captives come through one at a time. Terrence tries to lift his right arm. He stops below shoulder height. Nothing broke. You do not know that. I can move it. That also does not tell you. He switches the bar to his left hand. Then I use this one. There is no point arguing while the corridor is open. We direct the freed captives toward laundry. Victor goes with them. Evelyn sends Russ to guide the last group through the service panel. Wade remains with us. He knows central control better than Terrence does now. Then gunfire starts near administration. 3 shots. Pause. 1 more. The infected yard erupts. The sound reaches us through concrete, glass, and ventilation openings. The fence begins rattling hard enough that we hear it from inside. Wade mutters Curtis's name. Why is he shooting? Nobody answers, because nobody knows. A radio on Wade's belt comes alive. Curtis orders everyone to the vehicle corridor. Another man says the inner sally gate will not cycle. Curtis tells him to use the manual override. The man answers that control is not responding. Then somebody reports the yard fence is moving. Wade looks at Evelyn. He is trying to leave. Where is central control? Across the main junction. How many doors? 2, if the service corridor stays open. Terrence says, Armory is closer. Wade looks at him sharply. How do you know that? Terrence does not hide it now. I used to live here. Wade stares for half a second. Then he says, Armory is almost empty. Evelyn looks at Terrence. We are not going there. I was not asking. Wade explains while we move. Curtis emptied most firearms during the first weeks. Some were traded. Some are in vehicles. The armory still holds ammunition they cannot match to many of their remaining weapons, damaged riot equipment, and locked cabinets nobody has opened. It is not the prize people outside imagine. The route to central control passes the junction leading toward the vehicle corridor. We reach it and stop. The corridor ahead is blocked by a closed, secure door. The control light beside it is red. Wade uses a key. It does not turn. Wrong cylinder. You have another? Curtis has the ring. To our left is a corridor marked Supply and Armory. Its door stands open. To our right, a service passage leads toward the captive evacuation route. A man appears at the far end. He is dragging one of the sick captives by the arm. Behind him, another raider shouts for him to stop. The easy objective is 10 yards away. The people are farther. Evelyn does not even look toward the armory. We go right. We reach the captive before the raider catches him. Wade steps between them. The raider raises his rifle halfway. Curtis said nobody leaves. Wade answers. Curtis is loading fuel for himself. He said he is moving it away from the generator. He put his bags in the truck. The raider looks at the sick man, then at us. His rifle lowers. Not everyone with Curtis chose him for the same reason. Some stayed because the prison had food. Some because the fences worked. Some because leaving alone had become more dangerous than obeying somebody they did not trust. Curtis has turned that dependence against himself. We send the sick man toward laundry. The raider follows without his rifle after Wade tells him where to go. That leaves the central control door. We still cannot open it. I hear a motor start above us. A large ventilation fan. Then another. The generator load rises. Lights dim. Who turned those on? Wade looks at the ceiling. Smoke control. There is no fire. Control can start it manually. The fans run for less than a minute before the generator pitch changes. The sound becomes uneven. Then the building goes dark again. Battery lights come on. A fire door behind us releases and closes. Another stays open because the closer has failed. Somewhere near the yard, an alarm begins sounding continuously. The infected move toward it. We hear the result through the outer wall. Chain link rattles. Metal posts strike their concrete footings. Voices from the vehicle corridor start shouting. A truck engine revs. Someone leans on a horn. That is the worst sound they could make. The yard population changes from scattered groups into one dense movement toward the vehicle side. They are not coordinating. The ones in front stop at the fence. The ones behind continue walking or pushing toward the noise. Bodies compress. The chain link bows. A top rail bends. Wade runs toward the window at the end of the corridor. Evelyn catches his sleeve. Do not open anything. I need to see the yard. Then see it from behind glass. We reach a narrow reinforced window. Rain streaks the outside. The vehicle corridor is visible below. Curtis's truck sits between the inner garage and the sally port. 5 people are around it. One is trying to force the inner vehicle gate. The infected mass is packed against the adjacent yard fence. Every time the truck engine revs, more press forward. The fence post nearest the gate leans several inches. If it goes, the infected do not need to climb. Pressure will open the breach. I look back toward the smoke control fan sound. The exterior yard has speakers mounted on poles. I saw them during the trade. If central control can activate the yard public address system, we might move the infected away from the vehicle corridor. Not safely. Not without cost. We would be concentrating them somewhere else. We need central control first. Wade bangs on the secure door. Dennis, open up. A voice comes through the intercom. Curtis said nobody gets through. Wade answers. Curtis is outside control, and his gate is stuck. The yard fence is going. Then help him. He is leaving you. Silence. Evelyn takes the intercom. My name is Evelyn Brooks. You have seen us trade here. We are moving captives out through laundry. Nobody coming with us has been harmed. Open the door and stay inside control. We are not asking you to walk into the hall. The man behind the glass says nothing. She continues. If Curtis gets that gate open, he leaves with your fuel. If the fence fails first, the vehicle corridor fills. You can verify both from your cameras. We wait. The generator starts again. The secure door remains locked. Then the intercom clicks. Put your guns on the floor. Evelyn looks at Wade. We set them down. The door releases. Central control is smaller than I expected. Banks of monitors. Door controls. Radios. A desk covered in food wrappers. 2 chairs. Dennis is alone. He has a shotgun pointed down instead of at us. He is younger than Wade. He looks exhausted. I do not understand the control panels. I do not pretend I do. Wade does. Dennis does. Between them, they identify which doors are still responding. Several show faults. The north fire door has no useful status because it is mechanical. The vehicle sally port inner gate shows closed even though the camera shows it partly open. The outer gate remains shut. Curtis calls control over the radio. Dennis does not answer. Curtis calls again. Then he threatens to come upstairs. Wade says he cannot. The east stair door locked when power dropped. Dennis looks at him. He has the mechanical ring. Then we have a few minutes. Evelyn checks the camera views. Laundry corridor. Kitchen. Warehouse. Vehicle corridor. Yard. Administration. The infected mass is now concentrated against the fence beside Curtis's truck. The chain link between 2 posts has bowed far enough that the lower edge is lifting from its tension wire. I point at the yard camera. Can you use one exterior speaker without all of them? Dennis opens a control screen. I think so. Do not guess. I used it before the outbreak. What can you select? He shows me zones. West yard, east yard, dining, cell blocks. We choose the west yard speaker farthest from the vehicle corridor. Evelyn understands the cost before I explain it. If we pull them west, they push that fence. Yes. Is that section stronger? I have no idea. Wade checks another camera. It is farther from the sally port. That is all we have. Dennis activates the west yard speaker. Nothing happens. Then a burst of static comes through it. The infected nearest the vehicle fence keep pushing. Those farther back turn. Dennis keys the microphone and strikes the desk twice with a metal flashlight. The amplified impacts crack across the yard. Heads turn. Movement shifts. He does it again. The rear of the crowd begins drifting west. The pressure at the vehicle corridor reduces slowly. Not enough to make the fence safe. Enough to stop it worsen for the moment. Then the west fence takes the load. The infected accumulate against it. Rain has softened the ground around one post where drainage is poor. The post leans. Dennis stops making noise. The infected remain there because they can still see movement near the speaker pole and each other. We have traded one failing section for another. Curtis reaches the control room stair door. He has 3 men with him. He uses a key. The door opens. Wade watches the camera. He is coming. Evelyn asks Dennis, "Can you lock the second stair door?" It already is. Can he key through it? Yes. So doors buy time. That is all. Nobody wants a gun battle inside central control. A round through glass, wiring, or a control cabinet could disable the systems we came to take. Evelyn tells Wade to call Curtis. He does. "Curtis, stop at the second door. We have control." Curtis answers immediately. "You opened it for them. I opened it because you were leaving. I was moving the truck. With your bags. The generator is failing. So you lock workers in and save yourself." Curtis does not answer that. He orders Dennis to open the door. Dennis does not touch the controls. Evelyn takes the radio. "Your people can leave through administration after we clear the captives. Weapons stay where they are until everybody is separated. Nobody has to fight over a building that may lose power tonight." Curtis tells her the prison belongs to him. Evelyn looks at the monitors. "No, you control parts of it. That is not the same thing." Curtis tries the second door. The key works. He reaches the final secure door outside control. Dennis locks it electronically. Curtis's mechanical ring does not open that cylinder. He strikes the glass with the heel of his hand. His 3 men stand behind him. One looks away. Wade uses the intercom. "You can walk back to administration. Nobody follows you. Or you stay there while the yard fence bends and the generator overheats." Curtis raises his pistol toward the camera. That does not help him. Then, a new alarm appears on the control panel. Dennis does not recognize it. I do. Not the exact alarm. The location. Boiler and mechanical. I ask him to pull the camera. The generator room is filling with vapor near the radiator. Not smoke. Steam or coolant mist. We need to shut it down. Dennis stares at me. If we shut it down, half these locks stay where they are. If you leave it running dry and cook the engine, you may not restart it. Can you fix the leak? Maybe, after it stops. Evelyn asks which captive areas still depend on controlled doors. Dennis checks. 1 cell block, infirmary, kitchen corridor. The laundry route is clear. We have people still in the infirmary. Victor did not know about them because Curtis moved 2 captives there after the last message. Another consequence. The count changes again. Evelyn does not blame Victor. She asks where they are. Dennis shows us. 1 injured man. 1 woman with severe dehydration. Both behind controlled corridor door. The armory remains 10 yards from our earlier junction. Nobody mentions it. We divide. Evelyn stays in control with Dennis. Wade goes toward the infirmary with me. Terrence insists on coming despite his shoulder. I tell him to keep his right arm against his body and stop trying to prove it works. He tells me he is carrying the flashlight. That is close enough to agreement. The infirmary corridor opens from control. For now, we move fast. The generator room alarm continues. If the engine shuts itself down before we return, the door may stay locked. The infirmary smells of antiseptic, sweat, and backed drains. 2 captives are in a treatment room. The injured man has a bandaged calf. He says it came from broken metal 2 days earlier. No bite. No blood exposure that he knows of. The woman can walk with support. We move them out. Halfway back, the lights die. This time the generator does not recover. The battery fixtures come on. The corridor door ahead remains closed. Wade tries his key. Wrong cylinder again. He radios Dennis. Static. Concrete and electrical equipment interfere. He tries again from the junction. Dennis answers. The door control has lost power. The emergency circuit did not transfer. We are trapped on the infirmary side. Terrence looks at the ceiling. Old segregation access is behind that wall. I turn toward him. You said you were not going in there. I said not without a practical reason. He points at the two captives. That is one. Wade knows a mechanical route through an old service passage, but the entrance is inside the former segregation wing. The wing has not been used by the raiders. They keep it closed because several intake rooms at the far end contain fresher infected, people who were exposed after the prison fell under Curtis's control. Dennis opens the outer segregation door from a battery-backed circuit. That system still responds. The inner doors do not. Wade has a key for the first gate. Terrence stops before crossing the threshold. Not dramatically. He checks the floor, the doors, the old camera mounts. Then he walks in. The wing is dark except for emergency lights. Cell doors line one side. Most are open. Terrence tells us the maintenance passage runs behind the shower area and returns near laundry. We move slowly. The injured captive leans on Wade. I support the dehydrated woman. A sound comes from the intake end. A hand strikes a door. Then another. The infected are sealed behind steel and reinforced glass. We do not approach. We do not need to. The maintenance door Terrence remembers is still there. It has been painted over. The lock is mechanical. Wade has no key. Terrence points to a nearby maintenance cabinet. Staff kept utility keys there. The cabinet is empty. Renovation changed another detail. I examine the door. No electronic hardware. No reason to force the lock if another route exists. Above it is a removable service panel leading into a pipe chase. Too small for the injured man. We need the door. Terrence looks back toward the shower area. There used to be a tool room. Used to? He gives me a tired look. I am learning to say that now. The tool room is still there. Most tools are gone. One long pry bar remains behind a collapsed shelf. We use it on the maintenance door frame, not the lock. The wood blocking around the frame has rotted after repeated moisture exposure. We work it loose enough to shift the strike side. The door opens several inches. Then, farther. The noise wakes every infected in intake. They begin striking doors. The sound carries through the wing. We move before it draws anyone else. The maintenance passage returns us to the laundry side. Victor is there with Russ and 5 captives. The first group already reached the annex. That means 7 captives are either outside or on their way. The 2 with us make 9. Victor's count was right. The infirmary pair were included. They had been moved after his note. Evelyn radios from control. The generator is down. Curtis is still outside the secure control door. His 3 men have split. 1 left. 2 remain. The vehicle corridor is quiet because the truck stopped. The yard remains concentrated at the west fence. I need to reach the generator. Victor can guide me through laundry. Terrence starts to follow. I stop him. Your shoulder is getting worse. I can still walk. Then walk people to the annex. He looks toward the dark corridor leading back to control. Then at the captives. He takes the flashlight from his left hand and gives it to me. Do not start that generator until you know where the doors are. That is the most useful thing anyone says. Victor takes the captives toward the service closet. Russ stays with them. Wade comes with me. We reach the boiler room through a manual service door. The generator is silent. Coolant has sprayed across one side of the enclosure. The leaking hose connection opened farther when the system got hot. The radiator is still hot enough that I do not touch the cap. We cannot repair it immediately. We can tighten the failed connection after pressure falls. We can clean the radiator. We can patch the shroud. We can check the belt. We cannot restore power in 5 minutes. Wade watches the door. What happens if Curtis gets control? He cannot make this run by shouting at it. That was not what I asked. I know. I radio Evelyn. No restart yet. Minimum until it cools enough to work. She answers, we can hold control. The west yard fence is bending farther. How far? Dennis says, one post is leaning close to a foot. That section needs reinforcement before anyone moves the crowd again. We do not have people outside it. No. The prison is ours in pieces. Central control. Laundry route. Boiler room. Most captives. Curtis still holds administration and part of the vehicle side. The yard belongs to the infected. The generator belongs to physics. Victor returns alone. Everyone is through the wall. Russ took Ruth outside. You should go too. No. Victor. I spent 6 weeks moving laundry for Curtis because he had the keys. I can help you find the rest. Evelyn's voice comes over the radio before I answer. Victor stays only if Victor chooses to. Nobody owes us work for being freed. Victor hears it. I am choosing. Wade looks at him. You always talk this much? Victor looks at the dead generator. Only when nobody can lock me in the laundry. That is the first moment anybody laughs. It lasts 2 seconds. Then the control radio calls again. Curtis wants terms. Not surrender. Terms. He has administration, food storage access, 2 vehicles, and 3 people still with him. Evelyn has control, most corridors, the captives, and Wade's knowledge of the building. Neither side has a functioning main generator. The yard fence is compromised. Nobody has enough power to pretend the prison is secure. Evelyn tells Curtis he can leave at daylight with 1 vehicle, personal supplies he can carry, and no captive workers. He can keep 1 firearm if the vehicle corridor can be opened without endangering everyone else. His people can choose whether to go with him. Curtis demands fuel. Evelyn refuses to give him the prison's remaining diesel before we know how much the generator needs. That argument lasts less than 5 minutes. Curtis knows the same thing we do. A truck without an open gate is storage. One of his men leaves administration, then another. Dennis watches them on camera. They walk toward control with hands visible. Curtis does not stop them. The first man is named Grant Ellis. He tells Wade he never agreed to abandon the captives. The second is Leon Briggs. He says almost nothing. They place their weapons on the floor before Dennis opens the door. Evelyn sends them toward the annex. She does not ask for loyalty. She tells them where food and water are outside. Curtis is left with 1 man. He stops bargaining about ownership. Now he wants a route out. I wait until the generator temperature falls. Then I tighten the hose connection. The fitting itself is intact. The clamp has loosened, and the hose end is damaged but usable. I cut away the worst inch, reseat it, and install a spare clamp from our kit. Not a permanent repair. Enough to test. We clean the radiator fins with low-pressure air from a small maintenance compressor that still holds charge in its tank. We patch the shroud using sheet metal, screws and washers from the workshop cabinet. Wade finds stored coolant concentrate. Not much. We mix it with clean water from maintenance storage according to the container instructions. The prison's drinking water is too valuable to waste, but an engine without coolant is dead equipment. Every choice is subtraction from somewhere else. Before restarting, I ask Dennis to confirm every door needed for evacuation can be opened mechanically or is already open. He checks. Laundry route open. Service closet open. Annex route open. Control secure. Infirmary empty. Kitchen empty. 1 cell block still locked. Who is in the cell block? Dennis looks at Wade. Wade answers, nobody we counted. That is not enough. Evelyn makes him check the cameras. 3 cells show movement. Not infected movement. People. Curtis kept 3 raiders locked in 1 cell block after an argument 2 days earlier. Wade knew they existed. He thought Curtis released them. Curtis did not. Evelyn stares at Wade. How many more people are hidden in this building? I do not know. That answer is getting expensive. I am telling you what I know. That is why you are still in this room. We delay the generator restart again. Not because the machine needs more time, because power, without knowing who is behind which lock, can turn a technical decision into a human one. Dennis can release the cell block door from control once power returns. The individual cells have mechanical overrides. Wade has one of the keys. We decide to restart, open the block, and move those 3 men before anything else. The generator starts on the second attempt. It runs rough for several seconds, then steadies. I watched temperature and charging readings. No immediate leak. The repaired shroud directs air through the radiator. The belt tracks correctly. Power returns in stages. Some lights remain off. Several door controls reset. One faults. The sewage lift alarm activates almost immediately. I had expected that. The smell told me before the panel did. Dennis opens the cell block access. Wade and Victor retrieve the 3 locked men. They are hungry, angry, and suspicious. One wants to find Curtis. Evelyn refuses. You can leave this building. You can stay and help. You are not crossing the prison to settle an argument while we have people outside and a damaged yard fence. The man argues. Evelyn points toward the annex route. Then leave. He leaves. The other 2 stay. Curtis calls again. He has watched his group shrink from cameras he no longer controls. He agrees to depart at daylight. Evelyn tells him the gate will not open until the yard fence is stabilized enough that vehicle noise will not push it over. Curtis says that could take all night. She tells him he is free to help. He does not. We spend the next hour moving everyone from the annex to the machine shed beyond the perimeter. Then we bring them back in small groups through the same route once central control confirms corridors are secure. It sounds backward. It is. But nobody sleeps in a service tunnel during a storm if we have a controlled interior route. Ruth's fever worries us. We isolate her in an infirmary room with another survivor outside the door. She can speak clearly. She remembers where she has been. No bite. No fresh infected blood exposure she knows of. Her symptoms fit dehydration and infection from a skin wound on her ankle more than the outbreak illness. We clean the wound, give her water slowly, and use antibiotics only after examining what supplies remain. Nobody says she is safe. Nobody treats her as already lost. Terrence's shoulder is swollen. The infirmary has a sling. He refuses pain medication stronger than what he needs because the supply is limited. He lets us immobilize the arm. That is how I know it hurts more than he admits. The yard continues moving. Every loud interior noise changes where the nearest infected gather. When the generator restarts, several drift toward the mechanical side. When a truck door slams, some move back toward the vehicle fence. When thunder covers everything, the crowd loses focus and spreads slightly. We stop making unnecessary noise. The west fence post is still leaning. Rain has turned the soil beside its concrete footing into mud. The chain link remains intact. The tension wire has pulled loose for several feet. We cannot repair it from the yard side, not with the infected there. The prison has a narrow maintenance lane between parts of the double perimeter. Wade says we can reach the outer side of the west fence from that lane without entering the yard. Dennis confirms the controlled gate leading there still works. Evelyn refuses to send anyone until daylight. The fence may fail before then. That is the argument. We compromise. We inspect from the inner maintenance lane under low light. No power tools, no engines. 4 people maximum. I go because I want to see the footing. Wade goes because he knows the gates. Victor comes because he refuses to stay behind. One of our camp members, Paul Mercer, carries the fencing tools. He has worked farm fencing for years. That is the expertise we need. The rain has eased. The infected are 30 feet away behind chain link. The outer fence separates us from open ground. The inner fence separates us from them. We move between both. Up close, the damage is worse. The post has not broken. The concrete base has shifted in saturated soil. The fence fabric is stretched. A neighboring brace is bent. Paul studies it without touching. We can support the post from this side. We cannot pull it straight with that crowd against it. How long to brace? If they stay where they are, 20 minutes. If they push harder, we leave. We carry steel stock from the workshop. No cutting. No drilling. We use existing holes and heavy clamps. It is not a permanent fence repair. It is support designed to keep the post from falling until we can move the infected away. The infected notice us after several minutes. 1 approaches, then 3. Victor stops working. Keep your back from the fence. Nobody needs to be told twice. More come. The pressure increases slowly. Paul finishes the first brace. A clamp slips. Metal snaps against steel. The sound brings another group from the center of the yard. Done, Paul says. It is not done. He means we are done staying. We retreat through the maintenance gate and lock it. The temporary brace holds. For now, Curtis watches from administration. He never offers help. Near midnight, the sewage alarm becomes our largest immediate problem. A lift pump serving the kitchen and laundry is not moving enough waste. The drain Victor mentioned is backing up. We shut down non-essential water use. No laundry, no showers. Kitchen sink use limited. Toilets in affected areas closed. I can work on pumps. I cannot diagnose a prison sewage system from a control light. The maintenance manuals are in a cabinet near the workshop. Most are intact. That saves time. The lift station has 2 pumps. One is already marked out of service. The second is running intermittently and drawing more current than it should. There may be a blockage. There may be worn bearings. There may be debris. The access point is in a service room separated from the occupied areas. That at least gives us somewhere to work without exposing people to the worst of it. We do not open the wet well at midnight. We shut down flow and plan daylight work. That means buckets and restricted sanitation for everyone. The prison has hundreds of toilets. For the next several hours, most are useless. A large building does not make a small water problem disappear. It gives the problem more pipes. Alana arrives through the annex route after midnight. She has been coordinating the outside camp and radio watch. The first thing she asks for is not the armory. Inventory. Evelyn points toward the warehouse. Start with water, fuel, food, medicine, batteries, and keys. Keys? Especially keys. That becomes its own problem. Curtis has the master ring. Wade has partial keys. Dennis has control access. Several mechanical overrides are missing. One key cabinet was emptied during the outbreak. Another contains tags without keys. A secure building without reliable key control becomes a collection of locked rooms. Alana and Victor spend an hour matching keys to doors. No assumptions. Every verified key gets a label. Every unknown key gets a separate ring. Nobody carries the only copy of anything without telling control. The warehouse is less impressive than rumors suggested. There is food. Not enough for months. Canned vegetables. Rice. Dry beans. Commercial kitchen supplies. Several boxes of protein bars. Some spoiled refrigerated goods we discard. Water storage is more worrying. The prison has large tanks. They are not full. Curtis rationed because the pumps have been cycling poorly. The incoming well system or municipal connection no longer provides steady pressure. A booster pump is running. Another is out of service. Fuel is worse. The main generator tank is below half. The reserve drums contain less than Wade thought. Curtis moved several cans to his truck. Alana counts everything twice. She comes back to control with the sheet. We have days, not weeks, if we run the generator continuously. How many days? Evelyn asks. Depends on load. Anybody giving you an exact number tonight is guessing. Evelyn looks at me. I nod. She is right. We shut down empty cell block lighting. We stop non-essential ventilation fans. We keep enough air movement in occupied areas. Kitchen refrigeration stays powered. Water pumps stay powered when needed. Control systems remain on. The generator load drops. Temperature stays stable after the repair. At 2 in the morning, Curtis asks to leave early. The rain has stopped. The yard is quieter. Evelyn refuses. Vehicle noise in darkness would pull infected toward a fence we cannot inspect from a distance. He tells her she cannot keep him prisoner. She tells Dennis to unlock the administration route leading to the outer pedestrian gate. Curtis can walk out immediately. He chooses not to. He wants the truck. That is the last argument anybody has about whether we are holding him. I sleep for less than an hour in a chair near the generator room. Victor wakes me before dawn. Not because the generator fails, because the laundry drain has overflowed. We close the corridor. Nobody walks through contaminated water. We use boots and gloves from maintenance storage. The backup spreads only a few feet before we stop flow. It is manageable. It will not stay manageable if 40 people begin using the building normally. At first light, Curtis comes to central control with his remaining man. Both leave their weapons in administration. Dennis opens the secure door. Curtis looks worse than he did during our trade. No jacket, wet boots. No authority left except the keys in his hand. He places the master ring on the desk. I want the north truck. Evelyn answers, after we check the corridor and fence. You said daylight. It is daylight. I did not say sunrise means every gate opens. Curtis looks at Wade. You think they are keeping you? Wade says, I think I am staying. Curtis looks at Victor next. Victor does not move. There is nothing useful either man can say. We inspect the vehicle sally port. The inner gate has stopped halfway because its position sensor and physical gate no longer agree. I cannot repair that control system. Dennis finds the manual procedure in a binder. It requires mechanical release and hand movement using a built-in crank. We test it without opening the outer gate. The gate moves. Slowly. That gives us a way to let one truck out. The yard fence beside the corridor remains bowed. The infected are spread across the western half of the yard after the speaker diversion. The temporary brace still holds. We do not use the public address system again. Curtis receives one truck. Enough fuel to reach several towns if roads remain passable. Food for 2 days. Water. One rifle after he confirms it is his personal weapon from before the prison takeover. His remaining man chooses to leave with him. Before the gate cycle begins, Evelyn gives Curtis one condition. No horn, no stopping between gates. If the inner gate fails after you enter the sally port, you wait for manual movement. You do not ram anything. Curtis says, You think I want the yard open? I think people do stupid things when a gate stops moving. He accepts the condition. Dennis opens the route. The truck enters the sally port. The inner gate closes manually behind it. The infected notice the engine. Several begin moving toward the vehicle side. The outer gate opens. Curtis drives out. No horn. No acceleration until he clears the gate. Then he turns onto the access road and disappears. The outer gate closes. The infected reach the inner fence after the truck is gone. The damaged section shakes. It holds. Nobody cheers. We have too much work. By mid-morning, every former captive has been examined for wounds and asked about exposure. No secret bite appears. No dramatic confession. Several have untreated cuts. One has an infected tooth. Ruth's fever decreases after fluids, rest, and treatment of the ankle wound. She remains separated until we are more certain. The injured man from the infirmary needs his calf wound cleaned and monitored. Terrence's shoulder is likely badly sprained or partially dislocated, but none of us can confirm that with equipment we do not have. He keeps the sling. He stops volunteering for lifting work after Evelyn threatens to assign somebody to follow him. Victor asks for his first job. Evelyn tells him he has no assigned job. You were a captive yesterday. I know. You can sleep. I slept enough when Curtis locked laundry at night. That is not rest. Victor looks around the kitchen. Then I am going to count food with Alana. Evelyn lets him. The armory is opened after breakfast. Several people gather because rumors survived longer than ammunition. Inside, we find 3 damaged shotguns, empty racks, boxes of cartridges in calibers nobody currently uses, old protective equipment, restraints, cleaning supplies, and 2 locked cabinets. One cabinet contains paperwork. The other contains less ammunition than we expected. Terrence looks around. We risked nothing for this. Evelyn answers, That was the idea. The workshop proves more valuable. Hand tools, electrical parts, bearings, belts, fasteners, sheet metal, fencing hardware. 2 portable pumps, a welder we cannot use casually because of generator load and noise, manuals, lubricants, protective equipment. Alana updates the inventory board. Water, fuel, food, medicine, sanitation, perimeter, generator, keys, people. She puts the armory near the bottom. Nobody argues. The sewage lift station takes most of the afternoon. We isolate power before opening anything. 1 pump has a seized motor. The working pump has debris restricting its intake. We clear what we can using the equipment already installed for servicing it. No one climbs into the confined space. No one improvises with exposed wiring. When we restart the pump, the current draw drops. The backed drains begin clearing. That buys us time. The failed second pump still needs repair or replacement. If the working unit fails, laundry and kitchen sanitation become a problem again within hours. The water system gives us another warning before sunset. The booster pump starts cycling too often. I inspect it with Paul. The pressure tank is not holding properly. Could be air charge. Could be a damaged bladder. Could be something else. We reduce demand and add it to the repair list. Every solved problem produces another line on the board. That is not bad luck. That is what 10 weeks without proper maintenance looks like. The yard remains the one problem nobody can put on a workbench. Dennis counts the infected from cameras. He stops after 140 because bodies overlap. Victor says Curtis kept adding infected to the yard during the first month. If someone turned after exposure, guards sometimes forced him through a secure exercise gate before symptoms became severe. Later, they used noise to draw infected from intake toward the outer yard. Nobody suggests repeating that. The intake rooms remain sealed. 4 infected are visible through reinforced windows. They are fresher than the yard population. They move quickly whenever someone enters the corridor. We place warning signs on both approaches and keep the doors locked. At dusk, we inspect the west fence again. The crowd has spread. The temporary brace is bent but intact. Paul says the post needs a new footing or a stronger support. We cannot safely do permanent work from the yard side. Terrence studies the fence from the maintenance lane. We could move them east with the speakers. I look at the vehicle corridor and load another fence. He nods. We need somewhere designed to take the pressure. There is not one. That is the problem. The yard was built to contain people distributed across open space. It was not built to hold more than 100 impaired people pressing into one section because of concentrated noise. We can move the crowd. We cannot make its mass disappear. Evelyn rules out clearing the yard with firearms. We do not have the ammunition. It would create noise. It would put people near a compromised fence. It would leave bodies that still need handling. Most of the infected are already weakening from dehydration. The safest plan may be containment and time. Nobody likes that answer. Nobody has a better one. The second night inside the prison is quieter. Not peaceful. Quiet. The generator runs at reduced load. The sewage pump cycles correctly. Water pressure holds. The west fence stays up. We assign sleeping areas close to 2 independent exits. Nobody sleeps in locked cells. Dennis keeps central control staffed in pairs. 1 person knows the electronic system. 1 carries the mechanical keyring. That rule comes from what trapped us in the infirmary. Terrence refuses a bed and sleeps on a mattress in the old day room near the service corridor. I find him there before lights out. "You all right?" He looks at the segregation door across the hall. I walked back through it. "You did. I used to count doors in that place because knowing which one opened next was all I had." I wait. He adjusts the sling. "Today I knew where one went, and it got 2 people out. That is enough. I do not turn it into anything larger. I tell him we need him awake for the fence inspection at first light. He says he will be. Before I sleep, I walk through central control. Alana is still working. She has 3 inventory sheets spread across the desk. Victor sits beside her. Dennis watches cameras. Evelyn stands at the yard monitor. The infected move under the exterior lights we have left off except near critical gates. Most of the yard is dark. The camera's low-light image shows slow movement. One person reaches the west fence. Another follows. Then they drift away. Evelyn points at the leaning post. That prison looked good from the road. I thought the same thing. Feed warehouse still look bad? Yes. Good. Means we have not lost perspective. She hands me Alana's fuel estimate. The generator cannot stay on around the clock at current consumption. Not if we want weeks. We need scheduled operation, battery lighting, manual door procedures, and lower electrical demand. That means living in the prison requires accepting less convenience than Curtis tried to maintain. The building can give us walls. It cannot give us fuel. At 3 in the morning, the generator shuts down on schedule for the first planned conservation period. This time everyone knows it is coming. Doors are checked first. Occupied routes are opened mechanically. Battery lights are placed where needed. Water is drawn before shutdown. Control records which systems lose power. The prison becomes quiet. No alarms. No revving engines. No shouting. The yard responds too. The infected gradually stop clustering near the mechanical side. Most stand or sit where they are. A few wander. Without noise pulling them into one mass, the fence carries less pressure. At dawn, we restart the generator for pumps and refrigeration. The repaired cooling system holds. I write the temperature readings on paper every half hour. No assumptions. Over the next 2 days, the prison becomes less mysterious and more difficult. We learn which toilets drain through the troubled lift station, which doors fail secure, which fire doors drag on floors, which cameras work, which roof drains leak, which keys are missing, which pumps can be isolated, which windows give useful sight lines into the yard. We also learn the people. Ruth improves. The ankle infection responds to treatment. The kitchen worker, trapped behind the fire door, is named Lorraine Webb. She had spent 5 weeks cooking for Curtis's group because refusing meant eating less. She takes over meal planning because she knows what food will spoil first. The older man from laundry is Howard Finch. He can repair small engines but has hearing loss. He becomes useful in the workshop once we stop assuming he heard instructions from across the room. Russ stays. He does not ask anyone to forget that he guarded captives. Victor does not forgive him because circumstances changed. They still work together when a water cart needs moving. That is enough for now. Wade turns over the rest of the raider records. Fuel trades, food counts, names, punishments, people Curtis expelled, people he brought in. Evelyn stores the papers. She does not organize a trial. We have no jailer to assign, and no spare people to guard former guards. Anyone who chooses to stay works under the same ration rules. Anyone who wants to leave can leave through the outer pedestrian gate after an exposure check and supply issue. 3 people leave. 2 return the next evening after finding the road north blocked by abandoned vehicles and infected near a gas station. Evelyn lets them back in. No speeches. They enter quarantine observation, hand over weapons for inspection, and receive water. On the 4th morning, the west yard post shifts again. Only 2 inches. Enough. Paul says temporary bracing will not survive another heavy storm if the same number of infected press there. We cannot leave the problem untouched. We also cannot clear the yard directly. Dennis studies old recreation schedules and finds that the exercise yard is divided by retractable fencing and 2 secure pedestrian gates. One gate still responds to control. The other is mechanically jammed. If we can use existing partitions to spread the infected across separate yard sections, pressure on any single fence may drop. That requires opening an internal yard gate while infected are present. Nobody enters the yard. Dennis can operate one gate remotely. The second must stay closed. We use exterior speakers at low volume from opposite ends to change the crowd distribution. We test with a short burst from the east speaker. Only a few infected move. A second burst brings more. We stop before they cluster tightly. Wait. Then use the west speaker once. Over half an hour, the yard population spreads enough that the damaged fence carries less pressure. Not safe. Less. The eastern internal gate becomes blocked when several infected stop in its path. We do not force it. The motor current rises. Dennis stops the gate before burning out another piece of equipment. That leaves us with a partly divided yard and a gate stuck open 3 feet. An infected person cannot fit through without turning sideways and pushing. Eventually one does. Then another. We shut the gate again when the opening clears. It stops 6 inches from fully closed. Another maintenance problem. Paul looks at me through the control room monitor. We own a lot of broken doors, I answer, and 2 broken pumps. Alana looks up. 1 broken pump. The other one is unreliable. That is better? It is accurate. By the end of the first week, the prison houses 38 people. Not because we recruit, because 3 survivors arrive after seeing smoke from the generator exhaust and signs near the access road. Evelyn nearly removes the signs after that. Then we realize the road itself is already telling people somebody lives here. The gate moves. Grass is crushed. Fresh tire marks appear. Hiding a functioning prison is impossible. We establish a trade point outside the outer gate. Nobody enters the Sally Port for routine trading anymore. I remember lying under the laundry truck with the infected 50 yards away. We do not repeat that arrangement. A family group from another farm tells us Curtis passed south 4 days earlier. His truck was running. He traded fuel cans for food. He told them the prison had fallen. Nobody asks where he went next. The word fallen bothers Victor. He looks around the kitchen when he hears it. It did not fall. Evelyn says, no. Victor wipes his hands on a towel. It changed who had the keys. That description stays. The sewage system fails again 2 days later. The working pump does not start during a scheduled generator run. This time the motor is fine. The float switch has jammed. We free it and install the spare switch from storage. We also begin planning a temporary alternate sanitation area outside the main building in case both lift pumps become unavailable. Nobody wants to discuss that during dinner. We discuss it anyway. Water becomes the next limit. The pressure tank problem worsens. The booster pump cycles every few minutes under normal demand. We shut off unused wings and close valves feeding fixtures nobody needs. Howard helps me trace the lines using maintenance drawings. The repair requires a replacement pressure tank we do not have. We can operate around the fault for a while. We cannot ignore it forever. Alana adds the tank to our trade list. Fuel drops more slowly after scheduled generator use. We run refrigeration and pumps during planned windows. Battery lanterns cover hallways at night. Central control gets continuous power from a smaller backup system cobbled together from existing uninterruptible power equipment and batteries. I do not build it. Dennis and one former prison electrician who arrives with a farm group handle what they know. I stay with motors, fans, pumps, and ventilation. That division saves us from our own confidence. Terrence's shoulder improves slowly. He returns to light work. He spends more time mapping service corridors from memory and verifying every route on foot. Alana makes him mark old memory in pencil and confirmed routes in ink. He complains once. Then he starts doing it without being asked. The segregation wing stays closed. We inspect the intake rooms through cameras and reinforced glass. The 4 infected inside weaken. We keep the ventilation low but active to prevent the sealed area from becoming a moisture and air quality problem for adjacent rooms. Nobody enters. One of the infected dies after several days. The others remain active. That confirms what we already suspected. They are sick human beings. They need water. They need energy. Their bodies fail. Calling them dead does not change the physical rules. The yard population also changes. The driest days slow them. Rain gives some access to water collecting in low areas. That may keep part of the group alive longer. We cannot control the weather. The first permanent fence repair begins from the maintenance lane. Paul designs a stronger external brace using steel stored in the workshop. We anchor it to existing concrete where possible, instead of relying on saturated soil. The work takes 2 days because we stop whenever infected gather close. No one fires a shot. Noise management works better than courage. We eventually shift enough infected toward the opposite half of the yard to relieve the west section. The post remains crooked. The brace holds. The chain link stays stretched. We mark the entire section red on the control room map. Nobody walks near it without permission from control. A month earlier, people would have called the prison secure because it had 2 fences. Now we know exactly which 10 feet might fail first. That knowledge is more useful than the word secure. On our 10th day, Alana completes the first full inventory. She reads it at the evening meeting. Food under ration. Water storage below desired level. Generator fuel limited but stable under scheduled operation. Medicine adequate for basic injuries. Poor for chronic conditions. 1 sewage pump operating. 1 failed. Water booster, operating with pressure system fault. 2 vehicles reliable. 3 questionable. 1 perimeter section damaged and braced. 1 internal yard gate unreliable. Several electronic doors dependent on generator power. Multiple missing keys. Then she reads the people. 38. 3 recovering from illness or injury. 7 with regular medications we cannot replace indefinitely. 6 with mechanical or construction skills. 4 with medical experience ranging from first aid to nursing. 2 former raiders who remain under close watch by people they once guarded. 9 people who were captives when we entered. Evelyn looks around the room. This is the prison we took, not the one we imagined. Nobody says anything. There is nothing to add. That night, a thunderstorm forms west of us again. The same direction as the storm that covered our entry. This one is weaker. We still prepare. Generator coolant checked. Fence cameras checked. Drainage grates cleared. Water drawn. Doors verified. Keys issued. I walk the boiler room with Victor. He carries a clipboard now instead of laundry. The generator temperature is normal. The patched shroud still holds. The hose connection remains dry. Victor looks at the old steel door beside the boiler room, the one Terrence expected to use. Concrete remains visible behind its inspection opening. If that door had been open, you would have come through here. Probably. Curtis had 2 men sitting in this room most nights. I look at him. Then the sealed route may have helped us. Victor nods. No good maps anymore. We leave the boiler room before the scheduled shutdown. Central control announces the power change over the interior speakers. No alarm, no shouting. People know which doors will close. They know which corridors remain usable. The generator stops. The prison goes dark in controlled sections. Battery lights stay on. Rain begins outside. I walk to central control. Evelyn is there. Alana is updating the board. Dennis watches the yard cameras. Terrence stands beside him with his arm out of the sling for the first time, though he still avoids lifting it. The west fence shows movement. Infected are gathering near the sound of rain striking a loose metal panel. Not many yet. Paul radios from the maintenance lane. He wants permission to secure the panel before the crowd grows. Evelyn denies it. Wait until they disperse. The panel can make noise tonight. Paul accepts the decision. That would not have happened under Curtis. He would have sent somebody because the sound annoyed him. We leave it. The crowd near the fence grows to 15, then 20. The brace holds. The rain shifts direction. The loose panel becomes quieter. The infected stop concentrating. Some wander back toward the center of the yard. Nobody wins anything in that moment. Nothing breaks. That is enough. After midnight, I make another round. Kitchen drains clear. Water pressure low but usable. Generator off and cooling. Battery lights at half charge. Infirmary quiet. Ruth sleeping without fever. Terrence's shoulder improving. At the loading dock, I find Wade sitting on an overturned bucket near the closed door. He has taken first watch. His rifle rests against the wall within reach. He looks through the narrow window toward the outer fence. Expecting Curtis? No. Then what? People. I wait. He rubs his hands together. I spent 10 weeks watching that gate because Curtis said everything outside wanted what we had. Some people did. Yeah. He looks back through the window. He forgot people inside wanted things too. I do not answer. The control radio calls my name. Water pump alarm. I leave Wade and head downstairs. The booster pump has stopped. This time it is not the pressure tank. A motor overload has tripped. I check the pump before resetting anything. The casing is hot. The coupling is worn. We have a spare coupling in the workshop. We do not have a spare motor. I wake Howard. He examines the coupling. We replace it. The work takes most of an hour. The pump restarts. Water pressure returns slowly. At sunrise, Alana adds one more line to the board. Water pump motor, high risk. No one complains about the list getting longer. The yard is still full. More than 100 infected remain behind the inner fence. The west section is still braced instead of repaired. The internal gate still stops short. The intake rooms still contain 3 active infected. The sewage system still depends on one working lift pump. The generator still depends on fuel we cannot produce. The water system still has a pressure fault and a motor we cannot afford to lose. But the laundry door is no longer locked from outside. The kitchen workers eat at the same tables as everyone else. Nobody sleeps in a cell because somebody else controls the key. The warehouse inventory is written where everyone can see it. We did not take a fortress. We took responsibility for a damaged prison, 38 people, a failing utility system, and a yard full of infected that we still cannot enter. Evelyn meets us in central control after breakfast. Paul wants steel for another fence brace. Howard wants the failed sewage motor on a workbench. Alana wants a fuel run delayed until we know the northern road is clear. Dennis wants 2 mechanical door overrides repaired before the next scheduled generator shutdown. Victor wants to reopen part of the laundry once drainage capacity improves. Terrence wants the service map finished before anyone occupies the second cell block. I want the water booster motor apart before it fails completely. Evelyn listens to all of us. Then she sets the order. Water, sewage, perimeter, doors. Fuel. Everything else waits. Outside the control room window, the yard fence rattles once. Several infected have gathered near a maintenance cart, somebody left too close to the glass. Dennis radios the yardside work crew. They move the cart without argument. The infected lose interest after the movement stops. I look at the board again. We have enough work for weeks. Maybe months. None of it guarantees the prison lasts. The building can trap us if power fails. The yard can breach if we misuse noise. The pumps can stop. The fuel can run out. A missing key can become a locked corridor at the wrong time. A clogged drain can close a kitchen. A bent fence post can turn an exercise yard into an open route. Those are problems we can see now. That is better than believing concrete walls solved them. I take the water system manual from the shelf and head downstairs with Howard. Terrence follows with the service map tucked under his good arm. Victor pushes a cart of tools behind us. At the junction near the old fire door, we stop long enough to check the raised floor strip that trapped people during the takeover. Paul has removed the damaged piece and replaced it with a temporary flat plate. The door closes cleanly. We test it twice. Then we mark it for a permanent repair. Nobody walks toward the armory. Nobody talks about Curtis. Nobody watches the access road waiting for another battle. The generator room needs cleaning. The water system needs parts. The sewage pump needs rebuilding. The west perimeter needs another brace before the next hard rain. Beyond the wall, the infected remain in the yard. They move when we make enough noise. They slow when the prison settles. They press against whatever fence is nearest when too many of them gather in one place. They are still there when I start work on the pump. The prison is ours. That does not make it safe. It means every failure inside the fence belongs to us now.